Okay, another thing that you can determine fairly quickly just by looking at the graph or the equation of a quadratic function is whether it's going to have 0 intercepts, 1 intercept, or 2 intercepts. Those are the three options for a quadratic function. Okay, so just to show you, how do we have 0 intercepts? Well, you can have 0 intercepts if you have a q value of your vertex. Okay, the y-coordinate of your vertex is negative, okay, and it opens down. So if q is less than 0 and a is less than 0, okay, that's not going to cross the x-axis. If you have a q value that's positive and it opens up, so q greater than 0 and a greater than 0, then you're going to have 0 intercepts. Okay. To have 1 intercept, okay, the only way that this can happen is if your vertex is on the x-axis. Okay, so your vertex may be on the x-axis and open up, okay, or your vertex may be on the x-axis and your parabola may open down. Okay, it doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to have 1 intercept. That's so here we have q equals 0. Okay, it doesn't really matter if a is positive or negative. Okay, and then you can have 2 intercepts, which we see quite often. You would have that if your q was positive and a was negative. Okay. All right, so it's going to open down, and then it's going to have to go through the x-axis twice. And you'll also see that if your q is negative and your a is positive. Okay. So 0, 1, or 2 intercepts. Those are your possibilities for a parabola. Okay, so let's take our f of x equals 0.8 x squared minus 3. Okay, and don't be thrown off by that f of x. Let's just, we say that y is a function of x, so sometimes you just write f of x in the place where we would normally have y, and that's okay. So we know here that q, okay, that's going to be over here, so q is equal to -3, and a is equal to 0.8. Okay, so in other words, q is less than 0, and a is greater than 0. Now I wouldn't memorize this, I would just do the little sketch every time, okay? And I like to be a little picky, so I look at my function. I know that p is 0, so I'm going to put my, I just know that my vertex is on the y-axis. I'm just going to put my q value somewhere in the negative and show it opening up. And what I see is that I'm going to have 2 intercepts. Okay. That's basically all they're asking you to do here. From for number 2, or sorry, b, f of x is equal to 2 times x minus 1 squared. Okay, where's my q value? It's right here. Okay. 0. Okay, so we have q equal to 0. We have a equals 2, or a, I don't know where that came from. So we have a greater than 0. Okay, and so to do our little sketch, we can say that q is 0, so it's right here on the x-axis, and it's going to be opening up. Doesn't really affect how many intercepts we have, though, because if q is on the x-axis, then we're going to have 1 intercept. Okay, and then finally the last c for this example, f of x equals -3 times x plus 2 squared minus 1. Okay, so I have an a value, that's -3. I have a q value, that's -1. Okay, so a is less than 0, q is less than 0. Okay, to draw that, q is less than 0, so I'm going to put that right here. A is less than 0, it's opening down, and what I end up with is a parabola that does not intersect the x-axis. So it will have 0 intercepts.